So we're going to take a look at a little bit more of a complex or a different way of converting units. We're going to look at a way of taking an imperial measurement and breaking it down into smaller chunks. Now, the example that I give to this here is when you think of your height, how do you describe your height? For me, I'm 5'10". I don't tell people that I'm 70 inches tall. Nope, that's what I am. I'm 70 inches tall. I tell people that I'm 5'10". I give a unit in feet as well as a unit in inches. Okay, and that's usually the way that we measure a lot of things. If you end up doing anything construction related, or if you're in carpentry or some of the other trades, you're probably going to do a bunch of things using feet and inches as a way of measuring. Sometimes, though, you're going to be given something with just feet or just inches in general, okay, and asked to break it down into smaller chunks. And so this little part here is breaking things down into smaller chunks. It's breaking down 70 inches into 5'10" or 5 feet 10. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to convert 273 inches, which is a bit more than 70, into yards, feet, and inches. So we're going to break it down into one measurement, okay, that has a number of yards, the remaining number of full feet, and the remaining number of full inches. Okay, so it's not breaking down into each of them. Okay, it's breaking down to one measurement where there is full yards plus full feet plus remaining inches. Okay, just like my height is 5'10", that means I'm 5 feet plus 10 inches. We want to break 273 inches into a number of yards plus the remaining feet that are there plus the remaining inches. So let's do that to start. Let's find the number of full yards. Okay, and I'm going to use a conversion rate for this again. And so we're going to go through and convert this. Okay, we're going to start with 273 inches, and I'm going to want to convert that into yards. So I know that there are 36 inches per 1 yard. We cross multiply and divide. And again, I showed you some of this in the previous one, and I'm just going to go through. This is my fish method right here. Okay, so cross multiply and divide. So we have 273 times 1 divided by 36. Okay, so 273 times 1 divided by 36 gives us 7.58. And if you can see it, let's see, we got the calculator, 7.58. That was on my calculator. So this is 7.58, and that is a 3 repeated yards. So we are going to take the number of yards off, and so we're just going to take, this is 7 full yards. There we go, full yards. All right, so it's 7 full yards. Now, we're not quite done yet. What we want to do is, we know how many full yards it is, but we want to change this decimal into number of feet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that decimal number of yards. We're going to cut off the 7, which we just did, and we're going to change it into, we're going to change the decimal into feet. So we're going to use the remainder. We cut off the full yards there. We're going to use the remainder. So we have 0.583 repeated yards. And we're going to change it into feet. And we know that there's 1 yard for every 3 feet. At 1 yard for every 3 feet. If we were in a class, I would show you how to do this on the calculator. I'm going to try my best to show you how to do it, how I would suggest doing it on the calculator. But again, we're going to cross multiply and divide, starting here. Okay. What I want you to do on your calculator here, okay, you'll notice on mine, okay, you can kind of see it in the corner there, is I still have that 7. So I'm going to subtract 7 from there. And that means that I'm still going to be left with my entire decimal. Okay, I'm going to try to keep that entire decimal. So I just subtract 7. And then I start up here with the 0.583, which I'm left with. And I'm using the entire decimal, not just a rounded one. I multiply by 3 and I divide by 1. And this is going to give us 1.75 feet, which is 1 full foot. Okay, it's 1 full foot. So we have 7 full yards plus 1 full foot plus, well, it looks like there's a little bit of a remainder. So we want to try to come up with how many remaining inches do we have there. So the last step that we do is we change the number of feet here, the 0.75, because we're going to get rid of that 1, into inches. So 0.75 feet divided, and then we're going to put that in inches. And we know that 1 foot is the same as 12 inches. Again, we're going to cross multiply and divide. So we're going to do our little fishy here, okay, to come up with the number of inches. So again, you'll notice on my calculator, this one isn't an ending or repeating decimal, so I can just do 0.75, but I'm going to subtract 1. Okay, you'll notice that I just subtracted 1. I'm left with my decimal, 0.75. And I multiply that by 12, divide by 1. And this tells us that there's 9 inches remaining. And you'll notice that there's no decimal, which is good. We started with no decimal for inches. We should end with no decimal for inches. So that means there are 9 full inches remaining. Okay. All right, now what we can do with this here is we're going to take our full one, so 7 full yards, 1 full foot, and 9 full inches, and we're going to put them all into one large measurement. Okay, and that large measurement, so we know that 273 inches is going to be equal to 7 yards plus, well, I guess you don't really need to say the plus, 7 yards, 1 foot, and 9 inches. Okay, so 7 yards, 1 foot, 9 inches. This is what our entire measurement is going to be. Broken down into smaller chunks. Okay, we should never have more than 2 feet, by the way. Okay, because 3 feet is already another yard, so we'd add another yard. So this breaks it down into smaller chunks. Okay, we can take 7 full yards, then an extra foot, then an extra 9 inches, and that would be this entire measurement, the 273 inches. It's the same way that with your height, you break it up into feet and inches. Okay? And that's what we're doing with our with this here. We're breaking it down into separate pieces. One more example that I want to do with you here, and this is a contextual example, and we're going to be doing a lot of contextual examples in this unit and next as well. Actually, for the rest of the semester. Okay. Contextual examples represent something that has context to it, or what we would often call a word problem. Okay? The context in this one is that Emily wants to walk from Blumenort to Steinbach. She knows that the distance is 4.2 miles, and she also knows that every step that she takes is 30 inches. She wants to figure out how many steps will it be for her to walk from Blumenort to Steinbach. Now, this is a multi-step question. The first thing that we need to do is figure out how many inches is it from Blumenort to Steinbach, or the length of Emily's step in miles. Well, here's my thing. The miles, if we change it to miles, that's going to be an extremely small number. So let's change the number of miles into inches. How we do that? We set up our little ratio. Okay, so we're going to start with 4.2 miles. And we're going to change it. We don't have a miles to inches at this point, so we're just going to change it into feet. And then we'll change the number of feet into inches. And so we know that 1 mile is the same as 5,280 feet. Okay. If we do, we're going to do the cross multiply and divide. And again, I'm going to show you this pretty much every time. Okay. We multiply across, we divide, and that's going to equal to our final number of feet. And so 4.2 miles is equal to 4.2 times 5280 divided by 1. 4.2 times 5,280 is 22,176 feet. Now, we could actually change this into feet as well, but we might as well just change it to inches because that's going to, well, it works for us as well. So we're going to change now 22,000, set it up as 22,176 feet, and we're going to change it into inches. And we know that 1 foot has 12 inches. and I'm just going to put a little comma in here. I do it afterwards. Again, as always, cross multiply and divide. And 4.2 miles is equal to 266,102 inches. Now you'll notice here, again, because we did this a couple times, we know that we used the feet value for the 4.2 miles. We can just convert that into inches. All right, now we know that it's 266,112 inches to get from Blumenort to Steinbach. This is roughly accurate. I did look at a map. We want to now figure out how many steps did she take. So we have to figure out how many times 30 goes into 266,112. So we are going to then take another equation here. So the next thing we're going to do is determine the number of 30-inch blocks in 266,112 inches. Okay? And we do that using division. So we're going to do 266,112 inches divided by 30 inches. We actually use that there. That equals to okay, so I'm going to take my measurement that I still have here, the 266,112. I'm just going to divide it by 30, and this tells us 8,870.4 steps. Well, we can't actually have half a step. We're going to still take a full step. Blocks. And so your answer, and again, your answer, because it's a contextual problem, we're going to put it into a contextual answer. So it means that Emily will need to take 8,871 steps to walk from Blumenort to Steinbach. Okay. So to walk from Blumenort to Steinbach, she's going to have to take 8,871 steps for that span, based on how long it is and how long of a step she takes. All right, your first part of the assignment here, I want you to do numbers 1, 2, and 4 to 7, and that will deal with converting imperial measurements.